Welcome to episode 6 of SWF The Aftermath. Got a pretty good show in store for everyone tonight. A lot of storyline development's going to happen on this episode. So let's get right to it. Starting out the show, we have a pre-recorded video featuring Eric Eisen. He's laying in a hospital bed and he has cast over every extremity, arms, legs, a neck brace, the whole nine. And he says, after the beating that I sustained last week by the 3 men that were supposed to be challenging for my title, I'm not going to be there tonight. I probably won't be there next week either. Hell, I don't know if you'll ever see me back in a Supreme Wrestling Federation ring again. So then we have our opening match of the night. We have the Awesomeness versus Southern Comfort. And the Awesomeness, mainly in this match, we're looking to outdo what the Bumpholes did last week. But it took them 8 minutes and 15 seconds to pick up the victory over Southern Comfort. So as they go backstage to the curtain, the Bumpholes are there waiting, and they kind of just antagonize the Awesomeness a little bit. Laugh at them, talk about how long it took them to beat a team that the Bumpholes disposed of quite easily last week. This angers the Awesomeness a little bit, and we have a little brawl going on. A lot of punches thrown. Not a lot happening, though. It looks a lot worse than it really is. And then we see referees and road agents come in between and separate them. And they're just jawing back and forth at each other. This leads to another backstage segment where we see Rogue going into Jerry Eisen's office. And Rogue is asking, hey, Eric Eisen's out, so what's going on with this title situation? I still haven't had a fair shot at that title. So Jerry says, I got an idea planned for next week. Alright, then we see Valiant come out to the ring with his valet, Hannah. And Valiant, what he's doing here is he's calling out Brandon James. He says, I thought a lot about what was said the last couple of weeks between you and I. And I'm just convinced you and I need to settle it now. We don't need to wait. We need to do this now, so get your ass out here. And to everyone's surprise, Squeaky McLean comes out. He kind of cracks a little joke. Hey Valiant, this is a family show. Why don't you keep it a little PG? So Valiant says, okay, since you want to interrupt me, why don't you bring your ass down to this ring and we'll fight tonight? And Squeaky says, I'm not dressed to compete right now, but tell you what, let me go backstage and get my gear on and whatnot, and I'll see you tonight. Now we have Remo versus Steven Parker. This is basically a squash match. Remo just comes out, and he beats the piss out of Steven Parker. Post to post, just spears into the corner, a lot of power moves, and he could have ended it quite early. The match was still short, 3:31, but he just wants to prolong the suffering, prolong the beating to show that he's the alpha dog of this company. And after the match, he grabs a microphone and he says, if Eric Eisen thought what I gave him last week was bad, wait till he comes back to this company. That title is mine. I should have never lost it. Hell, he couldn't even pin me for the title. I'm getting my belt back. And then while we're on that subject, we see Gilmore backstage and he's talking to Jerry, and Eric Eisen, he really threw a wrench into things here. There's got to be some way where we can settle this. He can't hold the world title hostage. And Jerry goes, look, I hear what Rogue says. I heard what Remo said just out there in the ring, and I understand what you're saying. I got an announcement for later on in the show, so just stay tuned. Now we have Mikey Lau versus Kashmir Singh, the sensational Singh. He was a local hire. I just wanted somebody that could kind of put over how dominant Mikey Lau can be. And Mikey Lau defeats Kashmir Singh in 48 seconds by a stoppage. Basically, this is just to get over how dangerous Mikey Lau can be with his martial arts background. Singh comes out to the ring and he's kind of strutting around, kind of cocky, And Mikey's just watching him, wondering, what the hell's going on? What is this guy doing? We're supposed to be out here having a match. And he's strutting around, being sensational and whatnot. So as Singh comes in to finally start to engage, Mikey Loud just hits him with that roundhouse kick and knocks Singh out completely, and the referee calls the match. So Mikey gets a microphone after the match and he says, "Monty, you've been a thorn in my side for the last month. I'm ready to end this. How about you come out here and you accept my challenge? I want a match with you at nothing to lose." So now we have Hollywood Brett Starr versus Robbie Retro. Brett Starr beats Robbie Retro in 7-13 by pinfall with a Hollywood hammer. Got a 65C. And then after the match, we see Hollywood Brett Starr, and he's kind of calling out the North American title scene. He says, I beat Joey Morgan last week, and Morgan beat Paul Huntingdon. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm better than both of them. I should be the North American champ. I just destroyed this chump laying here, Robbie Retro. I'm sick of people not respecting me, not respecting my heritage, my family's legacy. It's time that I get my hands on a title belt. At nothing to lose, I'm inserting myself into that match and I'm taking that title. So now we have Jerry Eisen come out, and I forgot to add this in, but basically he granted Brett Starr's request, so we're going to see a triple threat match at nothing to lose. So Brett, of course, has left the ring, and Jerry's in there now. And he goes, my brother, he's always been a bit of a coward. He has people do his dirty work. I still can't quite prove it yet, but I know it's him. That Eric Eisen, oh man, I know it's him. So I put him in a match last week, and he got his ass beat. But instead of acting like a man, he decides he's going to take tonight off. Probably going to take next week off. And if he doesn't show up at nothing to lose, he won't have a championship to defend at all. He will be facing Vengeance at nothing to lose for that title. But we do have an issue with Remo, Rogue, and Gilmore. They all three rightfully deserve a shot at that title, and unfortunately, they're not all three going to be able to get it. So here's what I'm proposing. We're going to have that triple threat match that we should have had it when Hell Freezes over next week in the main event. And the winner of that match will go on to face the winner of the title match at nothing to lose between Eric Eisen and Vengeance. So we have the main event of next week's show. And now we have Jimmy Hernandez versus the Crippler. So Jimmy Hernandez technically defeats the Crippler in 6:15 by disqualification. During the match, we also had Jack Bruce run in and attack the Crippler. He got a 74B-. Now, the way that this kind of goes is Crippler's just kind of picking apart Hernandez. Hernandez gets a little burst of offense, and then Crippler kind of downs him again, and they're both laying in the ring for a minute. And then as they're both getting up, we see Jack Bruce run in and just start beating the hell out of the Crippler. Bruce is pissed. Crippler keeps trying to avoid him. He doesn't want the confrontation. He doesn't want to fight Jack Bruce. So this disqualifies the Crippler. Actually, I guess I booked that wrong. Whoops. Technically, the winner would be the Crippler. So let's ignore this. There we go. The Crippler defeats Jimmy Hernandez. Okay, so Hernandez is kind of just standing in the ring like, what the hell? Meanwhile, Jack Bruce and the Crippler are brawling all over the arena. They go backstage. They go through the crowd. and referees are trying to separate them to no avail. This goes on for, about 7 minutes? Yeah, about 7 minutes before Crippler finally gets enough separation to run away, and Bruce is just yelling at him, "I'm going to get you, Crippler, as soon as we get in that cage. Your ass is mine. There's nowhere for you to run." This leads into our main event match, Valiant versus Squeaky McLean. Valiant defeats Squeaky McLean in 16:48 by pinfall after a V-split, got an 80B. And this is more or less just to give Valiant another win, going into nothing to lose. I want him to look pretty strong for the rematch against Brandon James. And then after the match, as Valiant's celebrating, we see Brandon James come in from behind and start beating down on Valiant. Meanwhile, Hannah and Chrissy Angel are on the outside, and they're having themselves a little brawl as well. Couple of slaps, some tackles, they're rolling around, kind of doing the old school Attitude Era type of women's thing. Neither one of them are professional wrestlers. So you're not going to see a whole lot of suplexes or DDTs or just any type of wrestling move. They're pretty much just brawling like a schoolyard kind of fight on the outside. Meanwhile, Brandon James is laying the boots on Valiant, and then once he gets Valiant down and beaten pretty well, he rolls out of the ring and pulls Hannah off of Chrissy Angel, who's just giving it to her. And kind of slings her to the ground, and then just stares her down, and then picks up Chrissy, and they walk up the ramp, and that's the end of our show. I got a 79B. We lost popularity. That's okay. Most of my shows, I tend to go more towards storyline development as opposed to ratings. The story's always going to be a little bit more important to me than ratings. As long as we can stay at national, we don't lose a ton of money. We're gonna keep it to the story. So that's all for this episode. Tune in for the next one when we see who the number one contender is going to be for Eric Eisen's world title, or possibly Vengeance's world title, coming out of Nothing to Lose.